I believe you'll find that rule clearly spelled out on page FU, I'm the Dungeon Master. If you ever find yourself seated across a screen from a person wearing a shirt like this, or one of its variations, stand up and run. Do not walk. Run for the nearest exit. You are clearly dealing with a sociopath. On the one hand, this is simply one of those tee-hee silly little t-shirts. On the other hand, it is a bright red danger flag. You are not dealing with a person who is to be trusted in any way, shape, or form. I know that sounds like hyperbole. It is not, and I will lay out my argument, but before I do, we should cover the fact that this is not merely an issue that is related to Dungeons and Dragons. It is related to tabletop role-playing games in general, and beyond that, to the entire tabletop gaming sphere, and a case could be made for the world in general. Today, we're simply talking about Dungeons and Dragons. Again, that's a placeholder for all tabletop RPGs. Imagine, if you will, that a friend of yours says, I'm going to play some Dungeons and Dragons. I've prepared some materials. Would you like to play some Dungeons and Dragons? And you sit down at the table and you break out your player's handbook, and the DM holds up his hand and says, hold on, we won't be using those rules. We're using these rules. And he brings out a copy of, could be anything, Call of Cthulhu. We all understand that what just happened is considered bait and switch. It is a con. It is illegal for a store to do this to you. But for some reason, people accept it in tabletop RPGs. They accept it because rather than pulling out a different game, rather than pulling out a different game book, the DM says, we're kinda gonna be using that book, but really the rules that we're using are right here, and he points to his head. Bear in mind that he is not lying at that point. He never had any intention of playing Dungeons and Dragons with you. He had an entirely different game in mind. And that game is head games. He wants to play head games with you. And he wants to play head games in a way that the deck is stacked against you. It is a game that you cannot win. In fact, he started playing head games before you even sat down at the table. Make no mistake about it, once you agree to play the game under his rules, you have agreed to lose. You cannot win under this situation. The only way to win is to not play the game at all. After all, you are no longer a participant in a game that has clearly defined rules. Instead, you are a hostage. You are a prisoner in the prison of your own making. You have turned all of the power of the game over to one participant. That is a position of weakness. The manipulative person that has conned you into playing a game under false rubrics has all of the power and is not ashamed to use it. They have already demonstrated their abusive personality by lying to you and fooling you into sitting down to play a game they never had any intention of playing. The game they want to play is, guess what kind of mood I'm in, and guess what hoops I want you to jump through today. That is the sort of game that abusive husbands play. By agreeing to play this game, you are taking on the role of an abused wife. You have to guess what kind of mood the DM is in. You have to guess how he wants his dinner prepared tonight, and you have to understand that if you guess wrong, he is going to make you pay for not reading his mind and knowing what he wants from you before he even understands what he wants from you. This is not hyperbole. This is the game played by people who wear shirts like this. Guess what I want you to do, and if you guess wrong, you're going to pay for it. Don't play these games. Play the games that are advertised. And the games that are advertised have rules that are clearly spelled out. And as a result of that, Every participant at the table is coming to the table with the same understanding. Here's the dirty little secret that people who that wear shirts like this don't want you to know. They're terrible at the games they use to lure victims to their table. They are incapable of playing the game that is written in the books. They don't want to play that game because they're bad at it. Instead, they attempt to stack the deck to play a game that they're good at, the game of emotional manipulation. Your only defense is to walk away. If they don't want to play the game you want to play, do not play with these people. If they were any good at Dungeons and Dragons, they wouldn't need to wear a shirt like this. Remember, everyone at the table is equal. They all have the same ability to control the game. The only real power you have is to get up and walk away. Unless everyone agrees, we're using these rules. And now, player or DM, you are bound by the same rules. You are approaching the game from the same perspective. No one of you has any more power than the other. The only question becomes who is better at playing the game. If the DM wants certain things to happen, and he is good at the game, he can ensure those games happen by playing the game of Dungeons and Dragons. The people who wear shirts like this cannot play the game. They know they will lose. They know the players know the rules better than they do and can use the rules better than they do, and that the players will direct the action of the game. They fear that position. You will only ruin their experience. Let me warn you about one of the methods of manipulation that people who wear shirts like this are prone to employ. They will protest that they sat down outside of the game session and spent countless hours preparing a story or an adventure. And if you aren't willing to jump through their hoops, then they have wasted their time. Look at all the hard work they've done for you. To which the response should be, that was your choice. If you enjoyed preparing that material, then you enjoyed it on its own terms, for its own sake, and for you. I'm not bound to follow your railroad tracks if that does not appeal to me as a player. If you didn't want to prepare an adventure that no one was going to play, you shouldn't have prepared it. There is no agreement that I will do what you want me to do when I sit down at this game. There is an agreement that we will play this game, but there is no agreement that I'm beholden to your vision. We both have visions, and we will both try to influence each other to ensure that our desired outcome results, but the means by which we do that are the rules that we are using. And if you jettison those rules, then you've jettisoned the game, and you've jettisoned my trust. Bear in mind, DMs and players frequently, although this is not recommended, will deviate from the rules. That requires a level of trust. A proper DM who is deviating from the rules will not simply arbitrarily declare that he gets to decide. He has to earn his players' trust so that when he deviates, he can say to the players, trust me, I know this doesn't look right. I know this doesn't look like it's according to the rules. We're going somewhere with this. I have your best interests in mind as I deviate from these rules, thereby earning the buy-in of the other players. Everyone at the table has now agreed that the particular rule in question can be set aside for the sake of the game. Likewise, a player can say, I know that normally a player of my class cannot do X, Y, or Z. I would like to be able to do that. I am prepared to accept some form of balancing of the rules for that sake. But trust me, DM, I'm going somewhere with this. There is a layer of trust that must be built between player and player, whether you call that player one who runs a character or one who runs a campaign. They are all players, and they need to trust each other. Trust is earned, and it is a fragile thing. When you wear a shirt like this that says you must always trust my judgment and I must never trust yours on the rule, then there is no trust. There is only who does what to whom. There is only a naked power play in which one player, the one wearing the shirt, is demanding everyone else at the table give up all of their leverage. Lay down your weapons in this battle for control, and I will take care of you. Of course, the players have no assurance that that's true. You've done nothing to demonstrate that you deserve that level of trust. You're not very good at the game if you're wearing a shirt like this, which is to be expected from somebody who is duplicitous enough to ask you to play a game and then pull a bait and switch. These people are lying to themselves. They cannot admit that they want to play the emotional game because they don't have the intellectual firepower to succeed at the intellectual game. Tabletop role-playing games are an intellectual pursuit. These are highly complicated pastimes. There are pages and pages and pages of rules that are meant to level the playing field for everyone at the table. Rather than play that intellectual game, a game at which the abuser cannot hope to win, the emotional abuser demands that you play an emotional game. Don't play emotional games. These games are fraught with emotion by their very nature. The thrill of success, the agony of defeat. These are aspects that should grow naturally and organically out of the events that are generated by playing the game according to the rules. If you put the emotions first and try to force the rules to achieve that emotion, you have put the cart before the horse. You will gain neither mastery of the rules nor mastery of your emotions. You will not earn the emotions that you hope to achieve. Instead, you will have a hollow and empty simulacra of those emotions. Play the game and allow it to give you the thrills and the agony. And they will come. These are wonderful games. I highly recommend that you play the game in the book. If you want to win at RPGs, you have to play RPGs. Don't play emotional baggage games. Don't play the role of victim to an avowed abuser. Instead, just play the games. Master the games. Surround yourself with people who want to master the game as well. By pushing each other, iron sharpens iron. You will get better at these games. And as a result, you will get better at identifying the kind of people who engage in relationships on an abusive level. Don't be the kind of person who wears a shirt like this. Don't associate with people who wear a shirt like this. Instead, exercise the greatest power you have as a player, as a member of this hobby community, and exercise your right to say no. I will not be abused by you. Get up and run. Do not walk away from the table when you see someone wearing a shirt like this. And in this manner, you too can learn how to win at RPGs. I'm Mr. Wargaming, and until next time, I'm praying for you.